First of all, thank you for joining us here in person or online, or if you're watching this as a recording. We appreciate your time spending here with us. And towards the end, we will have some time for Q&As. We also have a survey link that we'll be sharing to get your feedback. We haven't done this session in a bit. Traditionally, we've been focusing more on specific feature sets, but understanding there's quite a lot of voices and desire from our developers and admins to have a roadmap session more focused around some of the developer-focused areas. So that's our session today. My name is William Ye. I'm a senior director here at Salesforce on the Data 360 product team. Within Data 360, I lead kind of the platform foundation capabilities. So things from admin to billing, provisioning, DevOps, sandboxing, multi-org. So really all the kind of more platform development capabilities. And joining me today is Pradeep and Jitin. Pradeep is still getting ready. We got Jitin here as well. Jitin, want to say a quick hello?
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Jitin Mehendirata. I'm part of Will's team, part of Data 360 product management team, primarily working on data kits and extensibility.
So here's kind of our rough agenda. This is just the key highlights of the topics that we will be covering. Of course, DevOps continue to be a focus. We've been making a lot of headways there and investment, so we wanted to share with you on that. But we got more. So we got some of the newer things that you may not have heard of yet, some of which are more kind of platform developer focused. Some of them are kind of helping you get started, time to value quicker, and also more kind of pro code areas that we have on the pipeline. So before I get into the kind of meat of the session, I want to quickly show you this agentic enterprise architecture slide. And you'll probably see a few more times of this throughout this session or this conference. In short, I want to show you where we are with Data 360. Right? Data 360 evolved a lot from our original kind of CDP story, providing the golden profile, to really expanding to the rest of the platform, now powering the activation, action, and also, more importantly, the context for Salesforce. So your structured data, your unstructured data coming in here, we kind of making it available to empower your business to run on it. So the system of work, right? Your different clouds, your implementations, as well as the agentic use cases, which is really critical for them to have that proper context when you're operating in the business context. And of course, you'll see a lot of Slack this next couple of days. And all of this stack is really kind of building on top of the Data 360 foundation. So Data 360 is foundational for Salesforce. It powers the agentic needs for RAG, for data governance. It powers our analytical needs with a semantic data model. Of course, we still have the marketing at core as well, where we're supporting the engagement for you with your customer and your end users. There's also service use cases with enterprise knowledge, sales use cases with Prospecting Center, and of course, the agentic search that also known as a Slack bot that people like. So the key thing here is that Data 360 is the platform that's powering it, and that meant we've been investing vastly into this whole product area. It's not just a single application now, it's really the platform layer. And as you can see, there's all these innovations that we're making, right? From agentic search to segmentation activation, unstructured data, zero copy, and a lot more. And so you've probably seen deep dive sessions on individual of these. You may have heard kind of more general roadmap session focusing on application. And this is why we're here today. Today, we want to kind of focus on some of the things that we think developers really care about, or things that we've been hearing from developers that want to have this kind of more roadmap overview that generally we don't go as focused on. So the first topic will be Data 360 sandboxes. So can I get a show of hands? How many of you have used Data 360 sandboxes? Okay, good. That's pretty like halfway. So how many of you have used sandboxes then in general for Salesforce? Okay, that's kind of what I expected as well. So a lot of you may have started your journey or looking into using Data 360 sandbox. The keyword here is the in. So Data 360 in sandboxes, because we didn't really invent a new sandbox just for Data 360. A quick overview here before I get into the details of it. Data 360 essentially works now fully in sandboxes. So if you have a Salesforce sandbox, you can provision it, and Data 360 will be available in there. Our goal is to provide you a fully functional Data 360, no matter which sandbox type. Dev, Dev Pro, partial copy, full copy, you get a full-powered Data 360 in there. We will also replicate your configurations, your metadata, your data model objects, just like you would with the Salesforce main sandbox's capability. The main difference there is, we don't copy the authentication and kind of the data set, because when you're working with this kind of scale, you need a lot more flexibility in what you want to have in the environment. And then the key thing is also we want to support all the kind of DevOps tooling and processes that you have in mind. And so Jitin will talk more about that in the data kit section. So just a quick overview for those of you who haven't tried it yet. It's really simple to get started now. To get Data 360 in Sandbox, all you need to do is create, refresh your sandbox, or now you can actually use license match, because we recently made a lot of enhancements to support these older sandboxes. So even if you have older sandboxes that didn't have Data 360, you can easily use license match to make sure the license is present, and then you can provision Data 360 directly in the sandboxes. Once the sandbox is provisioned, Data 360 is present, you just need to go to Data 360 setup and click Get Started. With that, the Data 360 process tenant is available for you to use. You do need to rehydrate the data, as I mentioned earlier. So what that means is you can go and reconnect your ingestion, your zero copy to get data in. Sometimes you might need just a few hundred rows of data to test the flow. Sometimes you might want to have as much data as possible to do like a UAT environment. But a lot of times we hear from customers, they might point it to different sources of data because they don't want to have real data in the sandbox org where maybe third party is also working with them in it. So that's where we're providing that flexibility in comparison. So getting into the roadmap, and this is kind of the lighter section, we'll get a lot deeper. But on the sandbox side, we made a lot of progress here. As I mentioned, in spring, we really focused on addressing some of the more edge cases of provisioning. So we supported all sandbox types already, but we knew some customers have these really old sandbox orders that they really don't want to go through a refresh process. And so we made that work now. Doesn't matter if your old sandbox had some DC metadata or not, we will make sure you can provision in them. And looking forward into summer, so the top priority for us is to support the clone sandboxes. Again, it's something I've been hearing from partners and customers, and that's something we're addressing immediately. We've also invested a lot into the overall kind of provisioning reliability and messaging so that you understand what's going on when you're provisioning, and if you hit a snag, you can figure out how to get unblocked quickly. For those of you who may have used Data Cloud 1 for multi-org orchestration, understanding that for Sandbox, while it's doable, it has been quite challenging to have to clean up your configurations before you can reconnect them. And so we're also making strides there to make it easy for you to be able to reconnect directly without having to go through this reconfiguration. And we got more coming, so we're continuing to listening to our customers and developers on what are some additional edge cases that they may have, the different org types and environments that they want to consider. Data Cloud 1, as I mentioned, even though we're making it easier to reconnect, there's also areas that we see to further reduce friction, so make it easier for you to set up this in multiple copies or picking this up and reconnecting it a lot easier. So these are kind of the areas that we've been looking into. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jitin to talk about data kits.
Thanks, Will. So data kits is basically essentially a means for packaging and metadata movement when it comes to key Data 360 configurations, right? Consider it as a transport container wherein you package all your Data 360 process definitions and configurations like data streams, calculated insight segments, and so on. And you don't package all these configurations directly into a package, but data kit is a mechanism wherein you bundle all these configurations first into a data kit and then add it to a package. Similarly, if you want to move this metadata and configurations from one org to another org, you bundle them into a data kit first and then move it into a different org. So as I mentioned, data kit is nothing but a portable and customized bundle of independently packageable Data 360 metadata. Now, the way data kit works is that whenever you add any process definition into a data kit, it's converted into templates. And what that means for packaging is, if you're familiar with the data space construct, you package it once from your default data space, all your process definitions gets converted into the form of templates, and then when you install the package into your subscriber org, you can deploy the components that you've added into the data kit into one or more data spaces. And the same holds true for connections as well. So it basically lets you package your schema, which can then be materialized against different data sources and different connections. You don't have to do the same work manually again or install the same package multiple times into a subscriber org. So why data kits? Data 360 metadata is a bit complex. It's not, similar to core platform metadata. It's more than just metadata. Like if you just consider a single process definition, for example, there are more than 15, 20 metadata entities behind a process definition. So that's what makes it more complex. And in order to support that scale and that huge volumes of data, it's not just as simple as just using metadata API to deploy a metadata or a configuration of data 360 into a subscriber org. That's the reason why we have data kits. The first benefit of using data kits is that you can reuse the schema, as I mentioned, against different data sources and different connections. The second one is around, because the process definition is converted into templates, now then these templates can then be deployed into multiple data spaces. And then it gives you enhanced flexibility. So whenever there are upgrades that occur, it's the templates that are updated, and then you can selectively basically choose when do you want to deploy that into your subscriber org. So we have two types of data kits. One is standard data kits, the other one is DevOps data kits. Now it's very important to understand the difference between these two. Standard data kits should be used only when the end goal is packaging and distribution. So if you want to create a managed package and upload it on App Exchange, go and use standard data kits, wherein you can create a generic solution. You can add the configurations only from a default data space into a standard data kit, and then eventually into a package, which can then be deployed into any data space depending on how many data spaces exist in the customer org. Because the package author wouldn't know, which customer is going to install that package and how many data spaces that customer is going to have. And the other type is DevOps data kits. If the goal is to just move the metadata across orgs into your DevOps pipeline, then you should create a DevOps data kit. Now, standard data kits can only be created from a default data space, whereas DevOps data kit can only be created in context of a data space. So if you have 5 data spaces, you'll have to create 5 different DevOps data kits for each data space, and the metadata movement can happen into exactly the same data space into your target org, what the data space was in your source org. So this is how the user flow looks like, especially when it comes to packaging. A developer in a namespace dev edition org, or in case of, say, 2GP package, if you have a Scratch org, a dev edition Scratch org, you configure all your data 360 configurations like data streams, DMOs, mappings, transforms, calculated insights, and so on. And then you create a data kit, add all your data 360 configurations into the data kit. Now, because I'm taking the packaging example, read the data kit as standard data kit in this example. And once your data kit is ready, you add it to a package, and once your managed package is ready and is published on App Exchange, a customer can install that package on a subscriber org. After installing the package, the data kit is available in the customer org to be deployed into one or more data spaces or one or more connections which are already configured on the customer org. So this is how the user flow looks like. Very quickly, I'll just show you a quick demo of how data kits look like. So as you can see, I have a data cloud org where I've configured an opportunity data stream and have a bunch of mappings to the opportunity data model object, as well as I've also created a calculated insight, as you can see. Now, when I create a data kit, I get an option to create either a standard or a DevOps data kit. Now, if I select DevOps data kit, I'll also have to select the data space, because for the purpose of DevOps, the prerequisite is that the same data space should already be present in your target org from where you want to move the metadata from your source org. But if you want to create a generic solution or a package which can then be distributed or uploaded on App Exchange, you select a standard data kit wherein you don't need to select a data space because you're creating a generic solution which can only be created from a default data space. And once you create a data kit, you can see different sections of all data 360 process definitions. And given that what all you want to package into a data kit, you can add all those components into a data kit. Now, one important thing to know is data stream bundle. Now, why do we call it as data stream bundle? Because it not only consists just data streams. Whenever you create a data stream bundle, add a data stream, it also brings in, along with it, all the mappings as well as the data model object into the data kit. So once you add all those process definitions, configurations into a data kit, you can, given that I've created a standard data kit, you can go to package manager and add the data package kit definition into the package and create your package. You can either go to package manager via setup, or you can create a publish button if you want to create the package via 1GP first generation packaging from the UI. Alternatively, if you plan to create a second generation package, we also have an option to download a manifest file for a particular data kit. Now, when you download the manifest file of a data kit, it actually gives you an XML file containing all the metadata template entities. Because you've created a data kit, added a bunch of configurations into a data kit, it will generate automatically a manifest file which you can use to retrieve and create a 2GP package via metadata APIs. So that's about the demo of data kits. And if you want to create a DevOps data kit, you can, the UI looks exactly like the same, and you can use any of the existing tooling that we have available for DevOps purposes to port the data kit from one org to another org. So going into the roadmap of data kit, so we have 4 different themes when it comes to roadmap. The first one is automated lifecycle and CLI integration. We want to enhance the CLI capabilities when it comes to data kit, and how do we make the XML files more readable to allow for easier comparison, merging, and developer guardrails. The second theme is flexibility and ability. So how do we give more flexibility to the data kit author and the customer in terms of whenever a data kit is deployed? It's not only just the data space and connections which can be provided as inputs, but there could be a bunch of other metadata that we wouldn't want to be logged, but want to make it editable by the customer. And that power should lie with the package author or the data kit author. The third theme is reliability and enterprise readiness. So how do we ensure that the data kit deployments are reliable, error-free, and if at all they fail, we provide the right set of error messages which are more intuitive and self-serviceable. And the fourth theme is modernization, automation, and deprecation. So similar to how managed packages support push upgrades, how do we support push upgrades for data kits? And then how do we deprecate the direct use of metadata APIs? Because the way to package data cloud configurations is always via data kits. We don't recommend using metadata APIs or packaging the data cloud configurations directly into a package, but rather only via data kit. So we want to implement strict guardrails so that unknowingly or unintentionally, customers don't follow the anti-pattern of using the metadata APIs directly. And the third one is destructive changes support in data kits. Moving on to Data 360 DevOps. So we also have a very detailed session on DevOps in the same room at 1 p.m. today. But we'll quickly cover the roadmap for DevOps in this session. So this is how a typical Salesforce DevOps pipeline looks like, wherein developers work on their individual Data 360 sandboxes. They have their source of truth into a GitHub main branch, and each one of the developer, they create their own feature branches, configure their metadata, and then merge their changes into GitHub main branch, which then gets deployed into a UAT sandbox, and then eventually a production environment. So this is how typically a DevOps pipeline looks like. When it comes to Data 360, the process includes, as I mentioned previously, DevOps data kits, wherein each developer working on his or her own individual sandboxes creates the Data 360 metadata, makes changes, and then creates a DevOps data kits where all these configurations are added. Now, once your data kit is ready, you download the package.xml file, retrieve the package.xml file's metadata entities via metadata API, and then you deploy it to your target org. When you deploy it to your target org, the data kit becomes available in your target org, and further you perform a step to deploy the data kit further into your target org, which extracts all the components from the data kit and creates those components into your target org. So there are a lot of things in this wherein the sequence in which the components of a data kit get deployed is very important, because you need to ensure that you review and carefully sign off on the sequence when you create a data kit, although we generate an automatic sequence based on the created date of the components into a data kit. Now, if I talk about roadmap and key investment strategic themes when it comes to DevOps, there are primarily 4 themes. The first one is definitely stability, trust, and reliability. So we do want to ensure that we increase the first pass success rate when it comes to DevOps. If there is a failure, we provide the right error message. However, we want to reach a state wherein we don't end up failing a data kit deployment because of missing dependencies and so on. There are a bunch of enhancements that we have on the roadmap to tackle that. The second one is data kit framework evolution. So data kit still remains the foundation of DevOps. So we want to ensure that we enhance the framework and move towards our North Star of minimizing the time to successful deployment while maximizing the audit trail. The third one is developer experience and ease of use. So as of today, one of the feedbacks that we have heard from a lot of developers and customers is that there's a long learning curve, because it's not as straightforward as retrieving something and deploying something. We have to create a data kit, review the sequence, make sure all dependencies are in, and then deploy. We want to make that process easier by enhancing our CLI story for data 360 configurations, to introduce new commands in CLI specifically for data 360, enhanced auditability to ensure that you can integrate with GitHub and leverage the benefits like to be able to track changes for each subsequent deployment. And then Delta-based deployments and CLI automation is another thing. The fourth one is ecosystem and tooling enablement. There are a bunch of tools out in the market. You might have heard about Copado, Flosum, AutoRabbit, which are built on Salesforce metadata APIs and support Salesforce platform DevOps tooling, right? So we want to ensure that we provide the right set of metadata coverage and APIs so that any tool can seamlessly integrate with Data 360 and ensure that the Data 360 DevOps works fine for their customers. So that's about the roadmap for DevOps. And I'll pass it over to Pradeep for Simple Start.
Hello, can you all hear me? Okay, cool. So we are embarking on a new initiative called Simple Start. Before I jump onto that, let me give a little bit of context. So anybody who has started using Data Cloud, the first thing that you do is bring the data in, right? You add connections and you say, hey, this is the data that I want to bring in. But when you're bringing the data, is it trivial? How many of you have struggled to say, hey, this is the right category? How many of you know what is profile, engagement, and others? Right? It came from the CDP artifacts. It's fundamental to how Data Cloud works. You bring the data, you bring what you call a profile, which is basically like a household, account, individual, and you bring all the activity around that, and you're building what you call a 360-degree, or account 360 and household 360, right? But there are a lot of nuances on what is profile and what is others, right? So that's one of the key challenges a lot of our developers as well as Data Cloud users run with. So what we want to do is basically make the setup really, really simple, not just for developers, but any user of Data Cloud, either a first-class Data Cloud user, or if you are imagining yourself as a Tableau analyst and you want to use Data Cloud as a fundamental data infrastructure on which to build a report on the DLOs of the world. You don't have to really know the Data Cloud technologies and the terminologies before you can start using Tableau next. So what we want to do is you buy a Salesforce org, you provision Data Cloud, all the CRM data from that org are naturally projected to the Data Cloud instance out of the box. It's not a separate add-on service. It's one CRM and one Data Cloud, very closely tied to the home org metadata. The second thing we want to do, we don't want to stop at the homework CRM data. We want to take it to custom objects. We want to take it to non-CRM. We bring a lot of external data into the data 360. So we want to have a very simplified experience where you just go and point to a source, point to the objects that you care about, you want to report on, analyze on, use it in data 360. With the age of AI/ML, we can peek into the data, we can peek into the schema, and give a right amount of prediction, whether it's profile, engagement, and what's the right mapping to make the setup really, really simple. We don't want to stop at that. One of the key challenges as any Salesforce administrator would face is, once the data stream, DLO, and everything is set up, how do we make sure that the schema is in sync with the source? Very likely the source evolves, new fields get added, new objects get added, and things like that. But for the objects that are set up, you still need to add it back to the data stream, add it back to the DLO. You need to add to the new mappings. We want to make the setup easy. We want to give the administrators a choice. Hey, do you want to keep the data in sync? It's not a one-time setup, it's an ongoing setup. The system will manage the setup in data 360 for you. Take a quick demo for you. So this is one of the lower. Yeah. So once you have provisioned data 360 instance, there's a property called metadata sync. I don't know if it's showing up very clearly in the screen. Yeah, it's all right. So it's not playing.
Some internet problem.
Yeah, some internet delay. Fine, that's.
Sorry, just talk through it.
Just talk to
Yeah, just talk through it.
Sure. So once you're provisioned, this is on the homework connection, as you can see on the data 360 setup. Once it's provisioned, I'll move on to the slightly further down, hopefully. So we want to, by the time you come there, all we expect you to do is go to the data stream setup, the tab where all the data streams from the connection are automatically configured for you. For the standard CRM objects, it's pretty straightforward. You would have traditionally configured everything in the bundle. Now we have made it all part of the core. All the data streams should be set up. Now, one of the key things people are asking is, hey, if you set up everything, are you bringing all the data on your own? What is the cost incurred? Literally nothing. Because what we are bringing is just the metadata. We are bringing the data stream, DLO, and the mappings, just metadata out of the box. The mappings are also pre-configured. Standard mappings are based on the AI-generated smart mappings. And all you have to do is figure out, hey, whether it makes relevance for you. If it makes sense for you, the data streams become active, and we start pulling in the data on our own without requiring any user activation. And the users can go and self-activate also on your own. Hey, I realize that I need this. I need it to an external service. In that case, you can't detect a usage. So you can go and say, hey, I want to bring the data in. It makes sense for me, and you can start using it. Next slide, please.
slide.
Yeah. So the way to look at this roadmap view is horizontal and vertical expansion. Right? The way to think about horizontal is we are starting with CRM because we are a CRM-first company. We want to make the setup of CRM objects easy. So for standard objects, we know the entire metadata. We don't have to predict what the objects are. You must have used all standard bundles and starter bundles. We'll make use of that to set up really, really simple for all standard objects. Having said that, for custom objects, it's a little more tricky. You have to know what the schema is, what you are intending to do with that. So we'll extend it to custom objects, and then take it further to standard connections, external CRM orgs, and then even external sources, be it from Databricks and Snowflakes of the world. That's on the horizontal side. On the vertically, it's just now the data stream and DLO that you care about. What you care about is the mappings. So you want to predict the mappings, looking at the DMO schema you got, standard schema or an extensible schema, a custom schema for external sources. And most importantly, schema evolution. For each connector, we have to build a schema detection service. Is something changed on the source? Detect that, automatically propagate it to data 360 and make the setup really simple. Thank you. All right, so this another initiative that you have started on. So data space was a relatively new construct. We started with single data space, but over a period of time, people have come to realize that, hey, there are different business units and geos that I want to project my data onto. You don't want to expose everybody to all kind of data. That's where the data space construct comes in. But with data space construct, all the processing gets duplicated. You have got segments, you got IRs, all the things gets parallel deployments across multiple data space, and that's where standard data kits you allow to be deployed across data space. Now that creates a problem for you. The traditional Salesforce applications, the reports of the world, the flows of the world, the Lightning Web components of the world are not aware of the Data 360 data space construct. That makes it very difficult for it to know what's the right data that I need to retrieve and project onto my flow or report or query and all those things. This is very common in the unstructured world too, where you can't got an action, you got the agent force action that wants to peek onto the retriever, retrieve the data, enhance the results, and send it back to the agent for the client. This is true for a report. You may have got a different set of accounts for each data space. Which one do you want to use? Want to make it really, really simple. So one of the key initiatives that we are looking into is how do we make this data space construct more natural to platform. Traditionally, if you build anything on the platform side, you in the standard data kit world, you just can know about the default data space. But in the subscriber org, there are more than one data space. Today, it traditionally works only on default data space. You want to make it really configurable so that you create it once, you can deploy it into multiple data space, and you can query from multiple data space from the same platform artifact. Imagine a report that you are using, and you have access to 3 data space as a user or analyst. You can peek into each of the data space with a simple drop down, like a filter. Hey, give me the opportunities in data space 1, give me the opportunities in data space 2. The same report should be able to query and visualize and present the data across data space so that it's much more convenient. You don't have to maintain multiple reports. So that's what we are trying. You can, as an author, you can create a data space. You can create it in one data space, but as a subscriber, you can use the same artifact across multiple data space. So for an end user, that should not change anything. Just a drop down that you can see on the right-hand side menu that you have selected a preferred data space where you can peek into by default, but you can always change it at runtime. I think back to Will to talk about BOSC. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. So switching over to a few kind of more new initiatives that we've been focusing on. There's actually a separate session for this, so I just want to kind of put this on your mind as something, if you're interested in, definitely look into it. It's called Bring Your Own Code. So this is about enabling our developers to actually work with Data 360 directly with your own custom Python code. So the idea here is you can securely execute these custom Python code in isolation on Data 360 or Data Cloud Compute. What that means is you can do a lot more advanced customization than you can do before with just the UI or the SQL we were providing you. In that sense, we're starting with initially on the transform capability as well as the chunking part, where with these custom code, you're able to create how you want to get to your outcome. There's also an enhancement in there where you can invoke securely to external LLMs. So these are kind of the steps that we're starting to give these pro code developers ability to further extend and customize how you're building with Data 360. And again, it's running on the same Data 360 compute, but in kind of secure just for yourselves, and also enabling you to integrate further with your external LLM gateways. So definitely check that out if you're interested. 2 other highlights, data Q&A. This one I think is very interesting for anyone developing with Data 360. So we've been adding a lot of actions to our Data 360 agents that we're shipping out. And with one of them, this is about ability for you to ask the question. So this is not just returning you what is your schema, what is your object shape, and things it looks like. It's actually helping you understand the data. And by that, it actually will give you both your answers in natural language and also visualizations. Now you can say, okay, I asked a question and you gave me some answer. How do I know I can trust this information, right? So not only will we give you the visualization, you can click View Details to look into exactly what objects were used to get to that answer. The assumptions that it made, the underlying SQL statement that actually generated get to the answer. And of course, a confidence score, like how confident is our agent with the response it gives you about, what is my, prospecting score or propensity to buy, or, how me analyze my region performance. And the key thing here is because it's in a conversation, right? You can iterate it over the chat. So let's say the initial take isn't quite right. You can further provide the prompts, right, to get it to modify your results to what you're looking for. And then in the end, again, you will have the SQL that you can plug it into where you actually need it, or have a visualization ready for you to use. And lastly, this is another initiative that we've been investing into. We hear you. A lot of our admins and developers have been saying, hey, sometimes I feel something is wrong, but I don't know where to look. Or the fact that I need to go into every different tabs to look at the statuses and understand what might be wrong or having errors. And so we're working on this new effort to provide you more of a single pane of glass view to holistically show you your overall process in one place. So what that means is similar to all the other Salesforce objects views, we will show you all the different process monitoring within that view. There's going to be list views that you can set to see, hey, alerts or actual errors that I need to be addressed. And for that, you can kind of have a global view of where am I at, what do I need to look out for, and where are the errors. This is where we're just starting. We're getting a lot of input and feedback. I believe there's actually a kind of initial test package on AppExchange as well, just to gather some input. And our goal is to start from here and then further making these information available more across the application. And so with that, I know we got just a few minutes left. Thank you very much for joining us in this session.